it goes on even if you're not grinding and like have a chokehold on your success. I can let it be for a minute and go spend quality time with my family and the ball keeps rolling.
8 months into the collective, Kayla just landed a $5 million grant to help put local food into schools.
We still have a long ways to go. The kitchen isn't ready yet, but this is such a big step in the right direction.
8 months into the collective, Kayla just landed a $5 million grant to help put local food into schools. So wild and mind blowing, and I'm just so thrilled. You guys, we totally nerd out on all things food and community. It is so exciting, and I cannot wait for you to meet Kayla.
Thank you for having me. This was such a delight to see that email. A manifestation for sure.
Ah, I love hearing that because it's also a manifestation. Sending out those emails are so joyful. On a scale from 1 to 10, how familiar were you with grant writing before you joined the collective?
A 2 or a 3. I knew about grants through organizations kind of walking through farmers because I worked on a large farm. The program organizers would reach out to these farms and say, you would be a great candidate for this grant. We'll help you apply. That was my first introduction, was probably a decade ago. And it kind of circled around where I was like, what's up with this grant thing? Maybe I should look more into it. And then I found Learn Grant Writing.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how confident do you feel now?
Now I think I'm more like a 7 or an 8. That's probably because I'm a little more conservative with giving myself, I know everything. I definitely feel confident that I could figure it out. Not that I would be handed a grant application and know exactly what to do, but that I would know what processes to follow to figure it out. And that feels different and comfortable.
Anytime we learn something new, even if it's slightly pivoted, we're like, okay, I can make that pivot. There'll be some unknowns, but I can do that.
Yeah, and it applies to everything. I think there's this assumption that the boss knows everything. No.
Nothing teaches you that quite like the soil. You are a farmer. Every year you could be like, this is how we do it. And then something happens and you have to pivot.
Yeah, and it's humbling. You have to just stay a student always. Observation and learning and practicing. And then just when you get comfortable enough, change everything.
That sounds like the entrepreneurship journey too.
I like
love
a
it.
challenge. And it helps a little ADD as well, because I like to bop around and try new things anyways.
Yeah, I love that. Did you walk through a valley of despair experience?
It was so exciting. I was absorbing all the information. And then I hit a wall where I was like, wait, this is complicated and hard. And it is still work. It still takes a lot of time. I think once we submitted a couple grants, some for myself, for my own farm, and then some for the nonprofit that I work for. And then it was just like, okay, well, now what? That's when I started to slip into a little despair. And I think I posted a lot on the collective and just like, I need help. What do I do? And then we won the grant and I was like, okay, well, maybe I do know a little something. I actually reached out to a couple other people through the collective with a lot more experience. And even after talking to them was like, wait, maybe I do know a little bit more than I give myself credit for.
We have a lot of high achieving women in our community,
Right.
and that seems to be a common theme. While we don't need the external validation to prove our worth, it is also nice when the external validation comes in to remind you you are meant to be on this journey. Clearly, $5 million came in. So tell us about this giant win that totally affirmed that you were in the right place.
I work for a nonprofit that works in the local food system out here, taking in food from the community, doing what needs to be done to it, either processing it or freezing it or canning it, and then redistributing it. Not the same as a food pantry, because we also work a lot with small businesses. A lot of people don't know how to kind of level up, and especially for farmers, this is a way to extend their season, make more money, have something to sell in the winter. The dream became that there was going to be an actual food hub. There was a lot of ups and downs with this project. It's already a few years behind. They had applied the first round for this grant and not won. We had a new executive director and me. We worked really hard on rewriting the application and revisioning the project for where we were going to take this hub, because you have to lose a few things along the way. The process of writing it was really cool to be able to wrote smaller grants that I didn't have to do as much of a full narrative skeleton, but this one really required it. And I was like, ooh, yeah, look at this tool that I have. And we were really proud of what we wrote, and we heard back. And the best thing was I was on vacation in Greece when I got the notice. I have my own farm, and leaving to go on vacation in May was very scary. And it was just very affirming to be like, look, it goes on, even if you're not grinding and like have a chokehold on your success. I can let it be for a minute and go spend quality time with my family, and the ball keeps rolling. I come back to something beautiful. So it was so like life affirming to be like, yes, I can travel and make stuff happen.
That is really incredible. You hit on a very common problem with nonprofits is the scope creep can get very out of hand very quickly because we have to keep reminding ourselves to come back to the mission because it's really easy for us to want to serve so many different things.
We were helping so many people in so many different categories that it was hard to make the cut and be like, no, this is what we're going to focus on. This grant is called the School Food Capital Infrastructure Grant. It's regional, and it was like a paired offering between the USDA and New York State Ag and Markets. They kind of funded food hubs and different projects like that throughout New York State. There isn't really any food hub on Long Island. There's a lot of people that live here. And this one specifically will allow us to purchase the building and the surrounding property. Over the next 5 years, we would get like $1 million a year to make a down payment and then purchase the property, which will be a game changer. This one specifically is to set up processing food for school kitchens. It allows us to expand and work with more schools across Long Island. The minute we announced it, we've already had so many people like, okay, let's go. And we still have a long ways to go. The kitchen isn't ready yet, but this is such like a big step in the right direction. And there was a lot of stuff kind of floating in the air, smaller grants and other pledge donations that haven't come through. And now that we've released this, it's like, okay, now the rest of the pieces can click into place.
I love this school food angle, and it's so needed. The first step will be to do some renovations to the kitchen so then you can expand.
The building was previously looked like an empty warehouse, and we were running the farmers market in there with no heat, massive ceilings, so like a big echo. It was cold and bare. Last year they divided it, and we have the full commercial kitchen with setup, cold storage, freezer storage, dry storage, a market space, and then a retail space. The market space is pretty much ready. We can soon begin to continue the farmers market, doing events, which is like what I love, bringing in educators in sustainable agriculture and nutrition and food preservation, small business management, all the things. Now we can begin construction on the kitchen side.
I just imagine you walking into this kitchen and being like, I did this.
Right.
I wrote a grant that could do this, and it materialized in the real world. It's just so cool when it's tangible like that. Why do you wake up and do this?
I love food, I love farming, and I love community. I didn't know that there was such a thriving agricultural community still on Long Island. I grew up wanting to get out of here as quickly as possible, and I did. And then I found my way back, and everything I've wanted is here. The farm to table industry, really hardworking farmers, family farms that go generations back, and a little bit of trendy, foodiness too. I can see how much that is diminishing across the whole US, but specifically here because it is a very wealthy location. It's easier to sell your farm and turn it into something else, sell your land. They can build houses or put up a winery or something. Being able to be behind ensuring that these businesses can continue, helping these small businesses learn how to adapt to the new times, directly shaking hands with people who benefit from it is so valuable.
I don't know if you've watched the Blue Zones documentary, but one of the things that people miss in that dialogue is the importance of the community. And every single one of these communities, it is the bonds that people have. They're sharing food, they're cooking together, they're gathering, they're leaning on each other in hard times, they're supporting each other in the celebrations. It's so crucial, I believe, to our well-being. So grateful that you have found this little hub.
All of us nature lovers have dreamt of the cabin in the woods alone, surrounded by just the woods. Part of me still wants that, but more and more I'm like, beautiful, but I would be lonely. The being able to get up and go to the coffee shop or the grocery store and see so many people along the way that we all support each other. And that's what truly makes me so happy.
The local food scene here, agricultural scene, we learn from every place that is doing cool things.
Right.
The ripple effects, I know, will come out of Long Island.
I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys.
Well, we're so grateful and we can't wait to see what's coming next.
Me
Round
too.
2 of this.